I'm going to answer one of yesterday's homework. Emma sent me a question regarding the word problem, and I'm going to do it now. So the word problem says the height has a relationship with the time, and this is the relationship. And they said put this in factored form. So like what we did yesterday, we're going to factor the common factors, so negative 5 out. That will leave tx squared minus 3t minus 4. Then we try to factor whatever between the brackets, so negative 5 t and t. Then we think of two numbers, multiply to negative 4 and at the same time add to negative 3. Those two numbers are negative 4 and positive 1. So I will write here negative 4 and positive 1. And up to here we are done with part A. Part B says at what time this particle or this object or this ball or whatever will hit the ground. When something hit the ground, that means h equals 0. So I need to find at what time the height will be 0. If you want to imagine the picture, this is an object. Start from a height that's 20, because when time was 0, this will be 0, 0, so the height was 20. Then it went in this path until it hits the ground somewhere here. We need to find this time. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I put 0, and I will try to find the time that will make this equal 0. When I look here, I found that if t equals 4, 4 minus 4 is 0, 0 times anything is 0, so if t equals 4, the whole thing will equal 0. And the other value, if t equals negative 1 plus 1 is 0 times anything is 0. So those are the two values. Mathematically, those are the two values, but logically, one of them valid and the other we cannot accept it. This one is valid because it's positive and time is always can be 0 or more. But t equals negative 1 is not valid because there is no negative time unless it's a science fiction movie or something. So there is no negative time. So this is not valid. So from here we can write a conclusion statement that the object will hit the ground after 4 seconds from the start. So this is the right answer. Okay, so I answered Emma's question, and I hope that all of you get this now. Alright, now let us start today's lesson. Today's lesson is about factor ax squared plus bx plus c when a can't be factored. A is not a great common factor in this case. In this case, we use a method called AC method. So we're going to use a method that's called AC. Okay. I'm going to give you an example, and through the example I will show you this method and the steps. Okay, so I need all the words. Let's say factor 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. I want to factor this. Okay, so the first step is multiply A and C. It's called AC method, so we're going to multiply the A and the C. So A is times t to a times c, which is 12 in this case, and add to b, which is 8. So we need two numbers, multiply to 12 and add to 8. So 12 and 8, yes, 6 and 2. So we find the two numbers that multiply to a times c and add to b. Now we are going to rewrite the equation but we will break b using the two numbers we got from step 2. What does that mean? You see this equation, 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. I can rewrite this again, 3x squared, but instead of the middle term be 8x, I can write this using these two numbers. 8x is the same thing as 6x plus 2x plus 4. So this equation and this equation are the same. The only difference is I have used the two numbers I get from step 2 instead of the middle term here. Instead of bx, I used these two numbers. Okay, so now after this, we are going to factor by grouping. So the step here, factor by grouping. So I have 3x squared plus 6x plus 2x plus 4, and I'm going to factor this by grouping. So we'll group the first two terms and see what's common here. 3x is common. If I factor 3x out, that will leave x plus 2 inside. I divide each term by 3x. So x plus 2. And here, this 2 is common, so I will factor the 2 out, and that will leave x plus 2. Now it is very clear that x plus 2 is common in both, so I will factor x plus 2. I'll take x plus 2 from here, so that will leave 3x from this and 2 from here. This is how we factor this. This is the AC method. It's very useful, and we are gonna use it when a is not 1 and cannot be factored. Okay, those are the steps. Write them down, and so the first step, we're gonna multiply a and c. Second step, we're gonna find two numbers, multiply to a and c, a times c, and add to b. Then we're gonna rewrite this, and instead of the middle term, we're gonna use the two numbers here. So 6x, 8x will be written as 6x plus 2x. Then we group as we have done. Okay? Now I'm going to give you some examples. Example 2. Let's say we have 6x squared minus 5x plus 1, and we need to factor this. The first thing, we look and see, can we factor a? A doesn't equal 1 and we cannot factor it, so we have to use AC method. How we use AC method? We multiply the a and the c, so 6 times 1 is 6. So a times c equals 6. This is step 1. Step 2, we need to find two numbers, multiply to 6 and add to negative 5. So negative 3 and negative 2 multiply to 6 and add to negative 5. Step 3, we're going to rewrite this we're going to break the middle term. Instead of negative 5x, we're going to write it as negative 3x minus 2x plus 1. After we have done this, we're going to factor by grouping. So we're going to group the first two terms together. And see what's common. 3x is common. That will leave 2x minus 1. Here we have negative 2x plus 1. So 2x plus 1 is common. We factor 2x minus 1. And this, and from these two, when we have a negative number, so again, we factor 3x out, so 3x out, that will leave 2x minus 1. And here, when you have a negative, you factor the negative 1 out. When you have a negative and there is nothing common, factor the negative 1 out. So negative to leave 2x minus 1. Right? When we look at this and that, we find that 2x minus 1 is common. So we factor it out. And that will leave 3x. And from here, there is a 1 in front of the bracket, so minus 1. That's it. We are done with this example. Again, when we have a negative here and there is nothing common, we factor the negative 1 out. Okay, we consider negative 1 is the common and we factor it out. Alright, now I want to give you another example before I still have a little bit of time. Okay, 16x squared plus 26x minus 12. Before we do anything, try to have this habit. Look for common factors first. Yes, all of those has 2 as a common factor. So 2, that will leave 8x squared plus 13x minus 6. Now, we are going to factor this using the AC method. So we multiply the 8 and the negative 6, that's negative 48. We need 2 numbers multiplied to negative 48 and add to 13. 2 numbers multiplied to negative 8 and add to positive 13 is 16 and minus 3. We're going to rewrite this using these 2 terms for the middle one. So 8x squared plus 16x minus 3x minus 6. Then we are going to factor, we're going to group. So 8 out, x, that will leave x plus 2. And here negative 3 out, that will leave x plus 2. Then 2, x plus 2 is common. That will leave 8x minus 3. And we are done. So it is 2x plus 2, 8x minus 3. This is the factor form. And we are done with today's lesson. I will post it and I will post the homework. And please send me if you have any questions. Okay? Bye.